listening to Rock and Roll Specialists with your hosts, Ben Eastman and Jeff Crenshaw. Let's rock.
Hi, welcome everyone to the latest episode of Rock and Roll
Specialists.
And we are in two different places because we are quarantined.
We're responsible people.
Very responsible. And in fact, Jeff smells a little bit too, so that's why I'm away from him at this moment in time.
I just took a shower.
I know, you did. I haven't taken a shower in 3 weeks. So I don't. What is shower? How is that spelled?
It's spelled SHOWER, and it's when an individual stands under a man-made spring of water and scrubs his or herself with soap to dispel all impurities from the body.
That sounds gross. Just kidding. I take showers, people. But welcome. This is our special.
I'm not so sure if you do now.
The cat's out of the bag.
No wonder they call you Stinky Ben.
Our 3 listeners now know that I don't take showers. No. This is our special quarantined podcast. I have some very important questions for Jeff that I figured I'd wait until this podcast to get a straight answer from him. These are questions that he's been needing to answer for quite some time now. And I figured, why not put him on the national spotlight and see what his opinions are of these things. So, Jeff Crenshaw, are you ready for the first question?
Sure.
My first question for you, Jeff Crenshaw, is when you have a nice day off and you've got the house to yourself, you've got your TV ready to be used, and you want to curl up and put a warm blanket on, order your Uber Eats, and just veg out alone by yourself. What is your warm blanket movie? What's that movie, that soul food movie that you just put on and want to relax and make you feel all right and one with the world? What's that movie for you?
You know, I have a lot of movies like that. Clerks is one that I really love to watch, which is kind of interesting. Like, just take a day off and then watch a movie about 2 guys working in kind of a retail environment. Granted, I haven't worked in a while, but I intend to return to the workplace once this blight has been purged from our lands.
There's a million fine-looking women in the world, dude, but they don't bring you lasagna at work. Most of them just cheat on you.
Immortal words from Silent Bob.
Good old Silent Bob. So that's your final answer.
Well, I have there's a million possible answers, but that's the one that came to my mind immediately.
Well, name 3 films. What else you got?
I love The Big Lebowski. That one always makes me laugh.
Literally just watched The Big Lebowski again, and
Today?
I forget just how funny every scene in that movie is. Like, every scene makes me laugh in that movie, some way or another.
I feel like every time I watch it, I pick up something new that somehow escapes my notice before, or I forgot somehow. Even though I've probably seen it 100 times or almost 100 times at this point, I feel like I'm always like catching something new.
What always gets me is I could watch those 3 dudes in a bowling alley for 3 hours and not once be not entertained. Like, just the bowling alley scenes of them like shooting the crap. That reminds me a lot because like my dad grew up bowling each week. my grandma, my grandpa, they did bowling leagues. And so, like, every time they go to those scenes, it just reminds me, like, I know those guys. Like, I know those
They come off
burnouts.
they come off pretty realistically to actual bowlers.
Man, what does that have to do with Vietnam, man?
Well, there's not a literal connection, dude.
And I love just how freaking I can't spoiler alert. I love just how like heartfelt Sobchak is at the death of a character. Like he hates Donnie the entire movie, and then he dies, and he's like so brokenhearted, and he gives like the most like beautiful tribute as he's about to throw his ashes into Jeff Bridges' face on accident. Like
He gives the most beautiful tribute, like, "You took him, Lord, before his time. Look, he took so many flowering young men at Quezon and Hill 234. What the fuck does that have to do with Vietnam?"
Oh, that never gets old to me. That movie will never get old. And it's too bad that the Coen brothers hate it. For some reason, it's like a movie that they've tried to write off their history. It's so fucking funny.
I don't think they hate it. I think that it's probably more of a resentment that gets so much more love than, let's say, I don't know, Oh Brother Where Art Thou or The Hudsucker Proxy, or it's like, because they've made a bunch of films.
Yeah.
And they're probably like, wow, why the fuck is it that one? And why can't other films get the same kind of...
Well, that's true. I mean, that film is probably their most popular.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. By far, it's like it has the most loyal following of all of their movies. And it's like Orson Welles kind of grew, I guess, somewhat cynical about Citizen Kane over the years, because imagine being him. People were always saying it's the best film made in the history of cinema, and like Welles kind of had an attitude like, "Please, I can do better," you know.
Yeah.
He said he referred to the plot as dollar book Freud.
See, that's funny, actually. I didn't know that he felt that way about it, but that's kind of funny because I know that he had a hell of a time making that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Studio and everything.
And, well, it was like the worst of the pain came like when he was trying to get it shown, and like the film was basically thumbing his nose at the most powerful newspaper man in the country at the time.
Yeah.
And the dude was able to crush a lot of the showings for it, because he said he wouldn't carry reviews of certain movies, or he wouldn't advertise for theaters in his paper if the theaters would show his film. So the film didn't get as big of a theatrical showing as it could have because it was they were threatened by William Randolph Hearst, who was the inspiration for Citizen Kane. Like, the dude put his foot down and like crushed the movie largely. For a long time, it didn't pick up much again for a while after that. But he also kind of killed Orson Welles' career during that time. So I could see how Welles could resent the movie a little bit, because for a long time after that, like he wasn't given jobs, and when he was given jobs, the studios would come in and fuck with his stuff. He was never given full creative control again.
Yeah, he's one of the filmmakers that really had a hell of a time with getting Final Cut. And I think as a fellow filmmaker, Final Cut's like the most important thing, honestly. It's that you approve of the film that you're handing off to the world, rather than having someone else toy with it after you think you're done with it.
It's like if it's not quite the same, because film is more of a collaborative art form, because you have to work with other artists like actors or like what if you don't write them yourself, writers or what have you. But But just for the sake of analogy, it's like if Leonardo da Vinci was like painting the Mona Lisa, and some like Harvey Weinsteinish guy comes up with a cigar, and looks at it, and it's like, paint bigger tits on her, and then walks off. That's pretty much what the studio system is like when they interfere with a film project.
But those breastises need to be a certain size.
Inflate him.
Freaking Harvey Weinstein. Wait, so Harvey Weinstein has coronavirus, doesn't he?
He did. It's actually interesting. There was I forgot who I was listening to, but there was this dude that was being interviewed on some show. I don't know if it was like Joe Rogan or someone else. It was some like radio talk show podcast type thing. There was this dude that Harvey Weinstein had apparently hired as his prison consultant, which means kind of what you think it does.
Yeah.
Where he's going to prison and he wants to live and he doesn't want to get murdered. So he hires this dude. He's like, okay, how do I get through this? So yeah, he's so like,
lucky.
He got this dude to help him out, and I don't think this dude is dealing. Weinstein is on another level than this dude, because this dude went to prison, and that's how he has the grounds to give advice to people to survive prison. This dude went to prison for he was like a financial advisor during like right when the 2008 thing was going to hell, the financial crisis, and he was spending more money than he was allowed to spend, and that's how this dude went to prison for a few years, and then he gets out and he's trying to get a foothold in some industry so he can have a career or some kind of job again. And he's discovering, when you embezzle from your work and go to prison for it, not many places want to hire you. So he ended up doing what he thought was the prudent thing. And he's like, you know what? This is what I can offer. I'm going to do this. So he's been doing this thing. A lot of lower level people. He's been helping out, like, who are going to prison, like financial crimes or just people that aren't the most famous film producer in the world.
Yeah.
And then one day, like some guy he's like riding in a car with, or he's on a bus with, just a casual conversation. He's like, so what do you do for a living? And this he tells the dude, well, I'm a prison consultant. If you're going to prison, I'm your guy to help you survive it. Don't piss the wrong people off. Don't get mixed up in bad shit. Just do your time and get out. I'm that guy. He's like, really? Oh, do you have a card or something? And it's like, yeah, sure. I don't know if there was a card, but it was essentially, can I have contact info? And passed it along. And a few days later, apparently the guy calls, like, I have someone who wants to meet you, talk to you. And obviously, long story short, turns out to be Harvey Weinstein.
Jeez.
And
wow.
It was before he was convicted officially, but I think he knew what was coming. He probably talked to his lawyers.
Yeah.
And he said that he said that he couldn't confirm that Harvey Weinstein had coronavirus because that's considered a confidential matter, and he thinks someone in the prison may have leaked information that they weren't authorized to leak, and he wouldn't confirm or deny whether or not it was true. I'm inclined to think he probably has coronavirus because that disease is going through prisons like that. They're talking about releasing prisoners in order so people in prison who really need to be in prison, like Harvey Weinstein, can be distanced more between cells than they would otherwise. So that a lot of places, like I don't know if New York, which is Weinstein is on Rikers Island, which is amazing, but right, you would
Yeah.
never think he'd end up on Rikers, but Oregon is talking about releasing some inmates, which I think, depending on the crime, I think that's probably a good idea for now.
Well, yeah, I know that's something that a lot of prisons are considering, but that makes sense. I mean, that could be a fucking total disaster, just
Oh, yeah.
waiting to happen, because literally their entire world is confinement, so it could run rampant as hell very easily in the prisons. And from what I've heard, it doesn't seem like that's been the case quite yet. Although I imagine reporting could be another story as well. So
It's a scary thing because it wouldn't just affect people in prison; it would affect the outside world as well too. Because it's not just the prisoners who work in the prison; it's the corrections officers. And
yeah,
they could bring it home to their families. They could not even know they're carrying it, and
yeah,
a high density population. That's one thing I'm interested in. Zach Shannon, our friend, who's been on the podcast when it was Heavy Set Go. It's now Rock and Roll Specialist, as it should be. But our friend Zach works in a prison, and he's talked about it before. I'm definitely curious to have him back on sometime so I can hear like what they're doing during Corona, because this is a whole different ball game than.
yeah.
Hmm.
Huh. I actually wonder what's going on there. That's definitely something that's pretty fucking scary. I mean, I think we can both agree everything's kind of crazy right now. There's a surprising amount of people that are out driving.
Yeah.
I was out to go grab something, and like there was a ridiculous amount of people. It looked like you wouldn't have known that we're dealing with the coronavirus. I saw so many people. It seems like everyone's like just finally like going on about their day like it's normal, practically, and it's crazy.
I don't think it's from what I've seen. I went out earlier. I've for the most part I've been good in staying inside. I do go on like my social distancing walks
Yeah.
and stuff. I I've hardly gone out at all. Other than that, I went to I went out. My mom drove me out. We went to Don Cholito's, one of my favorite places. Uh, Although they didn't have horchata today, I was quite irate at that. So
I think that I went to a Mexican place the other day to finally get some Mexican food. They didn't have horchata either. What the heck?
I wonder if there's like some sort of sanitary reason, if it's like more susceptible to germs or something.
How dare they? Maybe they mix it by hand. Now they decided they can't do it.
Maybe. Oh, I'll tell you one thing. After I just say that there was more traffic than I anticipated, but it was nowhere near what I come to expect. Like for the time of day that we were out, it was probably 2 p.m. There was more distance. Like there was a steady stream of traffic, but it was not as thick as I would have expected. I did see. I was looking at my phone earlier. I was going to order DoorDash. I ended up not, but I was looking at this place. You know that place by Grocery Outlet? It's called 0 Degrees.
Yeah.
They apparently have a strawberry horchata. That had me tempted.
Strawberry horchata?
Yeah.
That sounds very interesting. I actually had gotten them recently, and I had one of those. I don't know what the name of it is, and I'm not going to butcher it. So, but it's basically like a mango smoothie, but it also has that like chili, that we kind of chili spice on it that's kind of salty and spicy. But it was mostly mango, just with that kind of on top, and that's like a really popular thing.
I've
But
I've tried that before. I've never been huge on the chili on the sweet drink.
yeah, I love the mango flavor, but I didn't quite like the salty with the mango.
It's
My salty, I think I love salty and sweet. I'm okay with that. Definitely in moderation. But
mm,
I don't know if I can do salty and fruit.
I can do like margaritas, like the salt in the rim of the glass, but the chili, I don't like fucking chili on the fruit or the
Yeah.
chilies, the ground.
I've never been like a cheese and apple pie guy either. I've tried them. I'm not a huge fan of that. Like there are certain places that just melt cheddar on top of an apple pie and serve it to you like that.
You know, I never heard of that before, like the last few years, but now I know some people dig it. I'm more of an ice cream and like hot apple pie guy. Just melt the ice cream on the pie.
I just got this is great. this is uh this is called trying to make yourself happy during a quarantine. I ordered the churro Pazuki from BJ's Brewhouse, which is
Oh,
basically just a cup of you get pretty much a cup of ice cream and then a whole bunch of mini cinnamon churros. And I literally just used them to dip into the ice cream once it melted a bit. And yeah, I can confirm that is well worth the price that you would pay for that.
that sounds amazing.
What's the
Yep.
one place you missed most during this current quarantine?
Well, man, it changes every day. Uh, until like earlier this afternoon, it was probably Don Cholitos.
Yeah.
I miss Don Cholitos horchata still. I don't know if they just ran out or if it was one of our theories we talked about earlier.
Well, I think they saw you coming, and they were like, "Oh crap, man, the reserves."
Batten down the hatches. The you know, earlier I was craving Helvetia Tavern. It's the places that I can't really get uh with like DoorDash or whatever. Although
Yeah,
I can miss the the ambiance of places. Like I'd love to just go into a Killer Burger, but I can just order that online,
yeah,
the food. But I miss Thirsty Lion. I'd started going there pretty frequently before this hit. Uh, in fact, like one of the last restaurants I went to, uh, there was this thing. There was a period like the beginning of March. It was a couple of weeks before like the Corona stuff really started taking off. And I went I went to the Thirsty Lion, and they had a St. Patrick's Day menu, and this was like March 1st that I went, and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna kick ass. So I looked at the menu. I'm like, I'm gonna try a few of these things, and I decided the first thing I ate would be the this like lamb shanks like with mashed potatoes, which I didn't care for the mashed potatoes that much, but the lamb was good. Had
Mhm.
and shit all over it. And then
Ooh,
I saw another thing on the menu, uh, corned beef and cabbage, which I love. I love
oh
making
yeah,
it, having it at home, but I wanted to try theirs. And I was like, I'll be back soon, Thirsty
yeah,
Lion. Uh, I ended up getting like really sick for like a couple of weeks after that. It wasn't because of the food. It was just like a chest cold. It was
yeah,
terrible.
yeah,
And I finally was able to get out of the house. And by the time I got out of the house, people were talking about Corona, but it wasn't. Nothing was really shut down yet. People were just starting to like recede from public life, and
yeah.
I didn't think it was a big enough thing yet to because I had already been in the house for 2 weeks, sick as a dog. I wanted to get out again, so I went to the coffee house. This was before shit was shut down.
Yeah.
Then I went off to up to the Century 16 movie theater, and I watched Onward. And this is, keep in mind, this was before like the shutdown. Before this is just people talking. Ooh, there's this virus thing that could turn out pretty bad soon. And I was of the mind like, oh, like I'm posting about how people are idiots disobeying things. Yeah, I hadn't quite gotten into that frame of mind yet. So, oh fuck it, I'll go see a movie. And I saw Onward, and it was me and I think 4 other people in one of the bigger theaters at Century 16. Just 4 people and myself. I was in kind of the top back corner, the back left corner of the theater, and there's like
Back
one
into
couple,
the left.
back into the left, and there's one couple here, like a few rows down, and another couple a few rows after that, and that was it in the entire theater. And it was like an 8:15 p.m. showing too.
Yeah,
So
and that's a fairly new release too.
it was a brand new release then. I think that was like the opening week.
And then like probably a week and a half, 2 weeks later, it was on Disney Plus, and we were watching it in the comfort of our own home. Like it was actually just on Disney Plus. They didn't have a new rental fee or anything.
Yeah, that's
Neener, neener, neener.
I got to see it on the big screen. So
I got to see it on my flat screen.
oh god, without getting into spoilers too much, you know the climax of the film.
Yeah,
I'll just say with the school.
yeah.
That looks pretty badass on a big screen.
I thought so too, actually. I would imagine that would look pretty cool, to be honest.
It was awesome. I was like, wow, I got adrenaline.
It was
And
a cute movie, though, for sure.
I loved the Manticore restaurant scene. It's not really a spoiler, but I was like, where's the Manticore? And then a Manticore mascot jumps out. Hello!
Yeah, that was it was that whole like setup was pretty freaking funny. I'm not gonna lie. That was cool.
Just think about this. If you owned a restaurant and were the manager and it was called like Ben Eastman's Roadhouse, and like, where's Ben Eastman? And then I jumped out with a fake beard and a backwards hat. I'm Ben Eastman. And then I was like the mascot Ben Eastman. Like, would you find that? Would you want that for your business, or would you be kind of pissed
I have to
off?
say, I'm kind of confused because for a second I thought you were me and I was you. That impression was so wow. Kind of blew my mind a little bit there.
Pete, what restaurant do you miss?
Well, I have to say I have ordered Flying Pie. Because that was one that I did miss. I was able to order and pick up Flying Pie. I didn't go into Portland, but I went over to the one. There's one over here, kind of in Lake Oswego, over on this side.
I thought Lake Oswego was like on the other side of Portland.
It's kind of like over here before the river, like before the. Well, now you're freaking me out, bro.
I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's kind of like it's like over near Tigard, so that kind of general area. But there's one over there, and they were doing like a pickup thing. We could just roll up and grab it and then drive back. So, I would say Flying Pie because Flying Pie is usually associated with the Academy Theater, which is a place I miss like a lot.
Oh, me too.
Going with you to the movies and grabbing a slice of pie and stuff. But
hanging out at Julie's after.
Helvetia is definitely on there for me.
That's
I'm
what
like
I'm
getting to
afraid
the
for a lot.
point. Yeah, well, me too. I know that they're doing food to go as well too. I haven't gone, but that's kind of the crazy thing right now is all the different places like that are having to adapt and turn their whole business into kind of like a to go style operation. And I know that some of those mom and pop places aren't quite equipped to deal with that kind of an operation. And that's what's kind of sad is hopefully that places like that don't go under. But with that's the thing with that big bailout that they were doing for giving loans to small businesses. So many big businesses used like a loophole and got that money before businesses that really should have got it could even get it. So it was empty before they could even apply for it. Have
That's
you been
fucking
hearing about that?
ridiculous. I heard that the Shake Shack and like Ruth's Chris Steakhouse got access to that money, and then they were kind of shamed into giving it back.
Yeah, Ruth Chris. What was the other one?
Shake Shack,
Shake Shack, and I heard even like the Lakers,
the
like
Lakers.
the Los Angeles Lakers, got some kind of fund and stuff too. Now I understand places like those still have like people that work for them that are not working right now and they need money and stuff. I get that, but
Sell some fucking like merchandise. Like there's no shortage of Laker merchandise, and there's no shortage of people who'll pay for it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
God. It's pretty. They're fighting for their lives. The restaurants and Helvetia that you were meant talking about. I saw today on their Facebook page they've resorted to doing raffles. So if you come by and order something for pickup, you're entered into a raffle and you can win some prize. And the current thing that they have up for raffle was like this metal fire pit, kind of like what your parents have.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's clever because they're out in, like they're out in the middle of nowhere. Like it's out in the country. It's probably a 20-minute drive from here to get to Helvetia Tavern. So they're doing. They have to be really clever to get people to drive all the way out there when they can't even get a seat inside
Yeah, exactly.
or on the patio.
It's crazy. It's a crazy time. But
I
I would definitely agree um, that Helvetia is kind of that. It's kind of that place where it's just so far out, and you want it. I mean, there's places that I love going, like are on the coast too. I mean, I haven't made my way out there, obviously, because those towns are literally more susceptible than any of the towns that we're living in right now because their infrastructure isn't as built up as the inner cities are. So,
oh yeah,
um,
like
you know,
even in good in non-pandemic even in non-pandemic times, they they often fly people like to Portland from the coast because their medical center capacity is so low that they can't handle it as well there as they can here. And during the pandemic, like right before the governor closed the state, there was a fucking plethora of people that went out to the coast to just to have a fucking vacation.
yeah,
When when the main when the main people who actually live out there skew older, they tend to be retirees or just older people in general. My dad lives
yeah.
there. He's like in his early 60s, and he's probably the early end of being like vulnerable to COVID. I'm not sure, but Christian Kate lives out there too. He's our friend, and he said it was insane. He said people were packed like all over the public areas. So what the fuck?
I miss I miss going to the beach. I miss a nice beach weekend where you can just relax and do whatever you want.
Me
But
too.
then again, I know that we have it relatively easy for the most part, given comparison to I don't know, Anne Frank being in a attic for 2 years. So um, I'll take. It still sucks though.
Oh, it still sucks. It's I don't know the I'm not entirely down with the other people have it worse than me, so I'm not allowed to be miserable. Aside,
Yeah, I know. It's more.
granted, and Frank was worse off, but it still sucks for us. What really sucks for us is there's these jackasses that are going around my freedoms. I'm so sick of the government stamping me down and making me stay in the house for a couple of months. Uh, they're gonna get this fucking virus going again into the second. We're still like dealing with kind of the first wave. It's kind of slowing down a little bit, but it's not gone yet. So these fucking patriot assholes, or quote patriots unquote
Yeah,
assholes,
exactly.
uh, are going out, milling around, waving these flags, uh, like a bunch of fucking dipshits, and then they're gonna get this thing whipped up again, and we're gonna be stuck inside for another God knows how long to try and actually flatten the curve. And I want to stay inside and keep it safe. But if people keep on going out there and keep this going, how long are we expected to do this when other people just keep spitting in the face of what we're trying to do here?
That's the worst of it, dude. I mean, who wants to stay inside? No one.
I sure as fuck don't. No way.
I saw an article apparently, and this is a side of him I haven't quite seen yet. But I heard that Elon Musk on I think he was doing some kind of, it was a stock meeting, and I'm sure he must be getting hit hard. He was like, it's borderline fascism, the fact that they're demanding we all stay home. And I was thinking,
Dude.
I was like, come on, bro.
what's what I'll tell you what's really bad is Trump is basically trying to turn Georgia into this like petri dish because he's like he told the governor, listen, I want you to you should go ahead and try and reopen your state, and the governor's like, well, yes sir, I'll do that, and then he's starting to open the state, and Trump gives some speech. I think you should listen to the guidelines for social distancing. I don't know why the governor isn't following these guidelines, and
Of course.
like he's basically like contradicting himself like on record. So when it's like, yeah, the governor should open the state, and then no, I told him he shouldn't. So like the theory I heard is if it goes wrong and a bunch of people die, I told him he shouldn't have opened the state, but if it works out and people don't die and people can just get on with their lives as usual in Georgia, he's like, it'll have the other hand. So I told him that he should open the state. So I was. So he has like a contingency for either possibility.
That's like the most scuzziest person.
Yeah.
That's like our game that we play with each other. Where we have this like game that we'll play, and Jeff's the one that created it. So he created this monster.
How did I create this? What?
It's where Jeff like places the like when Jeff knows he's wrong and wrong really bad, he places the blame squarely on the next person's shoulder. Oh, you were the one that came up with the idea, and you're the it displaces the blame, and it hurts the other person involved. And so Jeff, this is actually an intervention. Even though we're quarantined, I've come here with a question for you. What is your favorite beach towel movie? I'm just kidding.
Beach towel movie?
Well, I got your favorite warm blanket movie. Now I'm wondering what's your favorite beach towel movie? I'm just kidding. I don't even know what a beach towel movie is.
Me neither.
Do you know that there's a type of film called kitchen sink dramas?
Explain what that is, and I might have an example.
Yeah, kitchen sink dramas were like it was like a period of film that was popular, I think, like in England, and it was like basically kitchen sink films were like realism, like films of like. Let me try to put this together here. Basically, a whole bunch of men filmmakers that made films about every man, like um, blue collar, lower middle class, lower class, blue collar workers working day to day.
Mm.
I think they called it kitchen sink realism or kitchen sink dramas because they were like families in their home at the kitchen sink, kind of like that. I think that was kind of the term that was coined.
So it's like the British version of like maybe a Linklater movie.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'd say yeah, that makes sense. Basically, kind of a social realist type of domestic life, essentially is.
that's kind of how I
Fun
see.
fact for you: kitchen sink dramas.
That's kind of how I see Dazed and Confused. Although it's not a drama, but it sounds like you're describing like the day in the life genre. You know, like Dazed and the Confused or Cricklin by Spike Lee.
Yep, I'd say that's probably kind of an update on that. Definitely inspired by that. You know, speaking of, we were talking about a few new films that we've seen. I just watched Bad Education on
Oh yeah,
HBO. I know you haven't seen that yet, right? I
no,
don't
I have
think yet.
not. I have not
So I
seen that.
won't spoil it for you, but talk about a film that's like an onion where each layer is pulled back almost perfectly. It's got the backdrop of like school, and basically it has to do with admin and what it's like behind the scenes of a school and running a very nationally recognized school system.
Mm.
Um, and I think it's best. I just have to give a really high recommendation. It has Hugh Jackman, Allison Janney.
She's one of my
Um,
favorites.
oh yeah, both those actors are two of my favorites for sure. And for the life of me, oh, Ray Romano is in it as well,
Yeah, bro.
who seems to be like the go-to lately of like bit like great like character little side characters, but he's actually a pretty good pretty
Not
good
bad.
actor.
He
He
wasn't
was
he in The Irishman?
he was in The Irishman. He was good in that. He was also in that film. Oh, I can't think of it, but it's Kumail Nanjiani, who him and his wife made that film about how she
Oh, the
got
sick.
into a coma.
Yeah, what was that called? That was Sick Days. No, that wasn't it. It was
Shoot, I'm looking it up. The Big Sick.
The Big
That's it.
Sick.
Yeah.
Sick Days.
Hey, well, that
I got one of the
was pretty
words.
close. You said sick days, so yeah, Big Sick. That makes sense. Um,
The Big
but
Sick.
yeah, Bad Education, really great if you can watch it. Um, Very similar to Election, which I know is one of your favorite films.
It
Um,
is.
and I mean the fact that they have school relation is one thing, but I say that it's a very like straightforward, like kind of unraveling plot that's very darkly comic, like would make you laugh out loud, but also frighten the hell out of you in some things.
So it's one of those like anxiety, like you're watching these people fuck up and you like want to tell them to stop.
Yeah.
Man, Election is a great movie, and I do want to see Bad Education. I just don't really, I'm not able to at the moment. But when this is over, I'll come over to your house and we'll watch it.
We were just remarking the other day, Alicia, my fiance, and I, we were like looking at each other. We're like, I love hanging out with you, but like, I just so wish we could just have a few of the guys over, or my family over, and just like that. Like it's funny. Like when this is all over, I have a feeling just getting together with my family in a room and just like being able to see everyone and share in a conversation with each other and laugh and have a beer or something sounds like probably the best thing in the world to me right now.
Oh yeah, good. We used to like go up to your grandma's house like all the time. Julie and Chris stop at like 7-Eleven on our way there.
Yeah.
Just like things we just took for granted. But now it's like I want to go.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I just turned 29, and it was a very depressing birthday for me. Although some great things happened, like you freaking being out in the middle of my street with a megaphone saying my name, and all my neighbors on the street now, A, knowing my name, 2, thinking I'm weird, 3, wondering why some 6'8" curly-haired masked gentleman is dropping off Arizona iced tea on my porch.
6'5", and those are two different things.
6'5"? You're only 6'5"?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! You want to know something crazy?
What?
2 years ago, this day is when you, Chris, and I were at a Taco Bell, and a guy came in and declared the restaurant a military target and ordered everyone to evacuate the Taco Bell.
Evacuate all civilians. This place is a military target. I remember that. I honestly thought that was like 5 years ago because it seems so long ago in my mind.
That's crazy. I remember like eating our tacos really quick, and like you and I were like, let's get out of here. We need to leave.
Yeah.
Just because it wasn't that, obviously it wasn't a military target, but I was like, I don't want to be near this guy.
Well, the guy seemed to be suffering from some kind of delusions that it was a military target, and I was worried that he had the thought that he was the military. Like if this guy starts opening fire in this place, I want to be as far away from this shit as possible.
Right? Yeah.
It was creepy and unsettling, and I remember like he said that, and like we were like, okay, let's go. I think it must have been Chris. I think he's like, no, I'm not done with my taco yet. But like, let's go. Fuck your taco. Take it with you. You can eat in the car.
Fuck your taco. That should be like, that should be an autobiography, like title there. Screw in the shadow of your father.
If I ever read an autobiography, I'm still going with There Goes the Silence.
Have we told that story on the podcast?
I don't know. But you know what? Why not? Let's tell it again.
Well, so back in our days where you and I went to college together at Portland Community College, Rock Creek campus, circa 2010, probably 2009.
It was 2010. It was straight up 10 years ago.
Yeah. So, wow, damn, it's been that long. That's crazy. Okay, but so we took a film class together, and in that class, oh, excuse me, wow, I just yawned. I'm sorry, fellow podcast listeners. I am not tired. I've just made a large yawn, so I apologize.
Be sure to describe this guy in great detail.
Oh, don't worry. I know you're chomping at the bit, hoping my recollection and my explanation somehow achieves the greatness within your mind. And I will do my best. But let's just say there were a colorful cast of characters in this film class. 94% of them seem to think that Tim Burton was godlike for some reason. And yeah, Tim Burton's an okay director, like early Tim Burton. But for some reason, everyone in the class was obsessed with him. That's just a side note. Anyways,
It was like
probably.
soon after Alice in Wonderland came out, probably like, wow, how magical.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me. I saw Alice in Wonderland with our friend Nikki Miller, and she gave me the rest of the popcorn. And as she was dropping me off, because at the time I don't think I was driving, she was dropping me off back at my house. I accidentally kicked over the popcorn and it fell all in her car.
Oh,
And it took me forever to clean it up. Anyways, back to the story. Colorful cast of characters in this classroom. Jeff and I were known as the two jokesters pretty much because all we did is crack wise to one another and probably disrupt the classroom way less than our teacher actually thought we did, but yes. And leading this cast of colorful characters was a man that needs no introduction, except I'm going to give him a very long one. Imagine everyone's sitting down, pencils and papers in hand. Jeff and I sitting next to each other, anxiously awaiting the start of our film class with one of the greatest teachers of all time. She who shall not be named, except for whatever was on her chin. The crackle of the door slides open as hard dress shoes clickety clack walk in. A man as tall as a totem pole, covered in a long trench coat with a top hat down on the brim of his nose, walks in clickety clack, clickety clack, clickety clack, mumbling to himself about the great Dungeons and Dragons session he had probably 5 minutes earlier. He walks into the room, he sits behind us, and it's this majestical man who can be described like Harold Ramis, if Harold Ramis took the ooze from Secret of the Ooze, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Part 2, Secret of the Ooze. It's like...
I thought you were going to make a Ghostbusters 2 reference.
Oh, yeah, there was that goo in that film, too, huh?
What is it underneath? There's goo underneath Manhattan, and it responds to hatred.
Oh, gosh. That's very true. Anyway, so this guy...
Sequel goo.
This guy he had the deepest voice. I swear he could sing bass in a band like that guy from the Oak Ridge Boys. You know, when they talk, they literally like shake your diaphragm. I got a Nikon camera.
A Sony Color TV.
Yeah. And so this guy was a freaking nut because everything he said was ridiculous. And
it was fucking gibberish.
He would always be talking to himself as if like he was cracking a joke to himself. Like no one gave him the time of day. And it wasn't like a sad thing that nobody gave him the time of day. This guy was kind of an arrogant like loser for what I remember.
He was kind of obnoxious, and I suspect he was a little bit on the spectrum.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right.
Which we should give him a little more grace than we do, but he was an asshole too.
He was pretty mean. But he would always just mumble, and I would joke to Jeff that he would like be mumbling things like, oh look at that. Or he'd be like, well, looks like she deserved it. Or, nevertheless, she persisted. I don't know, like this.
I remember during movies, sorry, I keep cutting you off. I guess you were right. I remember during movies, like he always had this like big water bottle with him. And like when he'd like when he was like when he would take a drink, he wouldn't stop mumbling, and
Yeah.
he would like mumble through the movies, and like he'd like drink it, and you'd hear like him gargling as he just kept mumbling.
That's what I was getting to. Is that like he would take drinks in his freaking water bottle and be mumbling while he was drinking. He sounded like he was literally like Scuba Steve underwater, like bubbling. we were laughing so hard at him. Anyways, that's the story, and we're sticking to it. Oh no, the
That's the
story is
introduction.
yeah, that's the introduction. um, no, you finish the story off.
All right, so I was like he always made these mumbling sounds, like we were just talking about. Oh, and one extra detail. It's not pertinent to the story itself, but it always amuses me when I think of this guy. He like when he would like go downstairs or something, he seemed to have this aversion to bending his knees, and there's like this like flight of stairs that went in like opposite directions going down that kind of crossed each other, and I remember like Ben and I we'd be like hanging out, and then we'd suddenly there's like a bell ringing somewhere or something. I don't know, but we'd see this dude running down the stairs without bending his knees, and we said, "What is he, a fucking gazelle?" Because it looked like he was almost hovering, like floating down the stairs. and, and Ben and I would look at each other, and anyway, like the layout of this classroom was it was like there's like the back section, then there was like one grade lower, which was enough room for like a row of desks, but then it was like a much broader version of a staircase. It's like auditorium seating,
Yeah.
and the bottom rung was where like the professor would stand and talk and whatnot. But it was like graduated seating inside of this building. And so one day, Ben and I were before before class would start, we'd tend to like hang out in the computer lab, or we'd go get a hot pocket or something. And like Ben and I happened to run a little bit late to class one day, and as we walked through the door, this this dipshit mumbler like had to mumble through every fucking mumble every day through class. And he like did that thing with his water bottle. He turns around. We sit down. He's like he's like a row. No, he's like 2 rows ahead of us. Ben sitting next to me, kind of in the same row on the same like graduated level. We're like one down from the main floor, and he's a couple down past us. And he turns back and he looks at us, and he's like, "Oh, great. There goes the silence." And I look over at Ben, and like Ben laughs now, but in the moment, like I've never seen him look so pissed off. And he stared at this dude, this Harold Ramis in the fedora, and he just screams, "Fuck you!"
I'll be honest. I actually forgot that I yelled that at him. Oh, that fucker.
Okay, that's like a different lifetime.
Wow. Yeah, that is so long ago.
It was at PCC that you first introduced me to Charleston shoes.
And now your world will never be the same.
Never. Oh my god.
Have you ever heard the Charleston Chew theme song?
No.
Let me play it for you. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Dun, 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 Charleston Chew, they taste so great, but chew doesn't rhyme with anything other than Jew. So come on down and have yourself a Charleston Chew.
So Have you ever applied for like a marketing job?
No.
Doesn't rhyme with anything but you.
Yeah, speaking of, I have to say it. I saw a news story that Mayor de Blasio called an end to this large funeral gathering that was taking place.
Oh,
Um,
fucking
and
people.
it was like a huge funeral gathering, but it happened to be of Orthodox Jews. And so now a whole bunch of people are crying foul. De Blasio hates Jews. He's discriminating towards Jews. And I just had to laugh because I'm like, of course. Of course.
Supposedly, they're alleging that he was part of a big gathering earlier in the day, but now that they're having their gathering, he thinks that, or they think he's singling them out because they're Jewish. Like, how about both of you not have your fucking gatherings and stay at home, or just stay distant, and they
Yeah.
can like mourn their rabbi later when it's not you're not gonna, the best part of the story.
What?
The rabbi that they're all gathered to like mourn died of coronavirus.
So the person that died of coronavirus. So a whole bunch of people got together to mourn him.
Yeah,
I have to say, wow, how would that freaking suck if you died of coronavirus and your family couldn't even get together to mourn you? Now that I just realized that.
that's part of the tragedy because
Jeez, I never even thought about that, to be honest.
they're not a lot like funeral homes are only allowing I think like 6 people per like service.
Even that, jeez, like,
That like who would you pick? Like, especially like your family. Like there's so many like my family too. It would be difficult, but
oh, there's a few I can skip over on my family. I can think of a few right now. You want me to name them off? Cousin Sally Joe, Uncle Jimothy Jackson.
Timothy Jackson.
Yeah, they wanted to name him Timothy, but it was already taken in the neighborhood. So they put together Jim and Timothy, and I give you Jimothy.
Timothy, and then there's going to be Benethy.
No, that's not funny, Jeff. Ben is never its own mixed name. It is straight off the name. Speaking of names, so since the last time we've had this podcast, I have now adopted a little dog. And I know Jeff loves when I talk about animals and dogs. But he had
Talking about them is fine.
he had a very unique name that was given to him. And his name was Baboosh.
It sounds
Similar
like
to
oh,
go ahead.
it sounds like what you say when you see a woman with like large breasts. You walking by, Babush.
No, it's bazooka. You got it wrong.
I'm so glad my friend's a misogynist.
I definitely know that like my fiance's downstairs and she just heard me yell bazooka and she's probably really concerned because she knows that's what I say when I see two big bazookas. Bazooka!
When she's outside, when she's outside, you need to look at yourself in the mirror.
Oh, you mother! You're lucky this is a quarantine. I'd be strangling your triple chin ass. I'd be over there strangling you. Anyways, so my dog's name is Baboosh, which is almost like babushka, which is like Russian grandma. So I was telling a friend who was asking about the dog about the name, and I was like, well, we just kind of went with Baboosh because we thought it sounded kind of funny and unique. But we call him other names too. We call him Boosh, Booshy, Bubba, Babby, Satan Incarnate. Satan Incarnate is probably the name that I call him most. because he can be little Satan. Uh, God help anyone who has to cross him when he's accidentally got hold of half of a KFC biscuit. Hell hath no fury like a baboosh with a biscuit in his mouth.
Dump water on him.
Yeah, we've got our own method now. How we trick him was we grab him a real treat, and we're like, "Hey, come get the treat," and then he drops the treat in his mouth to come get the new treat, and then we don't give him the new treat.
Yeah. Show him his boss.
It's funny for how old of a dog he is. He's almost 9 years old, just a few months away from that.
Really?
And
He's
it's
9 years
amazing
old?
how much. Yeah, he was about 8.5 when we got him.
Oh,
But
wow.
he definitely is a bit older. But he definitely, it's weird. He hasn't really lost the spring in his step, so he feels like a pretty youthful dog.
He looks like a puppy.
Yeah, but he definitely needs to be trained a lot.
No, just
there's a lot.
a good right hook across his face every so often.
You heard it here, folks. I didn't have to confirm that Jeff is an animal abuser.
I
But
am not.
He just said that he would right hook an animal to keep it in a line.
Only because that was what you suggested to me once when I came to you with problems. Speaking of animals, you're not the only one with new animals.
You got a new animal?
Yeah. Actually,
What
two.
happened to the last one?
There's two new animals. There's the rabbit, who we named Blue. A cute little bastard who likes to hop around a lot. The people that he was born to, because they had pet rabbits that made sweet rabbit love and then gave birth to a litter, of which Blue was a part. They called him One Sock, which I liked too, so I call him Blue One Sock. His official name's Blue. I call him Blue One Sock, but his nickname that I gave him is just Little Hopper. And that's probably what I call him the most. So, hi, Little Hopper.
He's so fast. You've sent me videos.
He definitely can be fast. Usually he goes at a very measured pace, but when he gets into one of his excited moods, he can go off. I've seen him like jump like 3 feet in the air and like completely turn his body around so his head is in the opposite direction before he comes back down. It's like
Yeah.
this weird thing, and he's so cute. He's not like really a people person, but he's so entertaining to watch. And sometimes he'll come up and he'll like sniff my hand a little bit, and I get to pet him for like half a second before he hops away and then goes off in a different direction.
Definitely described as a darter.
Yes.
A thing can dart.
Yes, it can. And Ben hasn't been able to meet him because we got it shortly before the quarantine started. And lately, my mom has been obsessing with the idea of getting a dog. And like she's been looking at like pictures of dogs online. Hey, and so every day is like, hey Jeff, look at this one. Isn't it cute? Like, it's a dog, but isn't it cute? Sure. And eventually she found this one in the Dalles, and she's like, oh, I want to get this one. And she's like, I remember I was in bed and she was like, Jeff, want to come with me to the Dalles? And like, I was like asleep, and she's like, fine, you don't have to go. And then she closes the door, and when I woke up again, she was like back from the Dalles.
Oh shit.
And there was this dog, an Australian Shepherd mixed with Border Collie, and its name was Dixie before, but Mom didn't want people to think we were pro-Confederate, so she changed the dog's name to Calypso. I think Mom got it from Jimmy Buffett rather than John Denver.
Oh,
There's a song.
Buffett over Denver.
Mom's a parrot head. There, there's a song Jimmy Buffett has. I think it's called Apocalypso. So whenever Mom starts singing that to the dog, I always have to ask her, "What's apocalypse?"
The lyrics for Apocalypso. They say this universe is bound to blow, but I say we crank up the calypso control. Apocalypse, apocalypse, apocalypso. Now I'm no dancer as dancers go, but this is one step that you need to know. Apocalypse, apocalypse, apocalypso. We'll be dancing when we go. Planets come and planets go. Apocalypso. Undisturbed, the dancers flow. Apocalypso. Well, galaxies can be cold, so I'll hold you close when this earthly light is burning low. This dance will take you to the next plateau. Apocalypse, apocalypse, apocalypse. So, anyways, you get the idea. Wow, he is a orator of our generation.
He has pretty fun music.
I have to say though, I think we should pay tribute to a great songwriter that has since passed. There's been a lot of people that have passed since our last podcast.
They're going down like flies.
It seems like it's just going really quick. But John Prine, incredible folk country songwriter, he had a song called "Let's Talk Dirty" in Hawaiian, which is hilarious. The chorus I want to spoken word for you since I'm doing that, and I know you like to hear the sound of my voice speaking to you. So imagine, if you will, Jeff Crenshaw. It's your day off. You have your warm blanket upon you, but instead of going towards The Big Lebowski or Clerks, you say, Ben, I want you to do spoken word John Prine. And I say, you know what, Jeff? This is how we come full circle. This is what we do. So put on your blanket. Let's talk dirty in Hawaiian. Whisper in my ear. Kikapuka maka wawaini are the words I long to hear. Lay your coconut on my tiki. What the hecka muka muka dear? Let's talk dirty in Hawaiian and say those words I long to hear.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I don't hear any clapping. That might be, I can't even hear that clap. Are you golf clapping?
There, that's what you get.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. So what's new? What else is new with you during this quarantine?
Well, nothing too much other than the fact that, let me see. Sorry, 1 second. Other than the fact that I have decided to start wearing women's clothes, nothing's really changed so much. It's still the same old Ben Eastman, even though I now wear women's dresses. But, just normal, everyday Ben Eastman things. Go to bed at 6 a.m., wake up at 4 p.m., wake up, then I sing loudly, half naked in my room while prancing around Usually it's some form of a Frankie Valli tune. Lately it's been My Eyes Adore You. My Eyes Adore You.
And Alicia was like, "Oh, babe, I'm so lucky to have you."
No, she's usually putting the pillows over her ears, screaming for salvation. But yeah, so that's pretty much my life. That and wearing women's clothes now.
I've been cooking more than I have in the past.
Yeah, I know. You've been sending me pictures and making me hungry.
Last night I made Reuben's and broccoli cheddar soup, which turned out really well.
That sounds like a stomach pounder. Did you have a Coke to go with it?
I had Sprite, I think.
Well, that's a Coke product. That's almost there.
Yeah. And then I had long before that I made zuppa toscana, which is awesome. It's the sliced potato and Italian sausage soup from Olive Garden. I think mine could have had a little more Italian sausage. I followed the recipe exact, but I think I should have gone a little heavier on the sausage, but it was a pretty good soup nonetheless.
Zuppa Toscana is pretty darn good. Alicia has made it for me, and it was one of the best things I'd ever had made from anyone. It was pretty good. Rivaled only by your biscuits and gravy, which I have been crying for a long time.
You wanted me to put it in the fountain.
You know, I can't hear you, man. I'm sorry. I think it cut out.
You wanted me to put it in the fountain.
Yeah, I sent you. Someone had put it in a fountain, and it looked too good. I really wish we could do that.
That looks like a sanitary hazard waiting to happen.
Yeah, I imagine that it would get caught in the fountain somehow.
The sausage, that's intended for like cheese or chocolate fondue.
Yeah,
Giant pieces of sausage would not go through that very well.
yeah, I don't imagine. But you know what? We could still hope, man.
That's another thing I miss, by the way. Fondue, like going to Gustav's or Garten.
That's actually what I was meaning to tell you. This is out of podcast moment. But when this is all over, Alicia and I, we're gonna host an event. We are gonna do beer cheese and fondue, and just invite all of our family and friends over, and just everyone around a table dipping day-old bread into and sausage and kielbasa into beer cheese. And doesn't that sound amazing?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Wow, we're both yawning. Well, hey, rock and roll specialists.
This is the alternative rock section, so of course there's yawning.
Oh man, Boz Scaggs, really.
We must pass the flame. We must pass the flame.
Well, Jeff.
Yes.
It's been nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you too.
I miss you.
I miss you too. Oh! We need it before we hang up though. Credit to Peter J. Lewis for giving us the idea for this. I do want to be on your podcast soon.
Yes, hopefully he can have us both, and we can do a podcast within a podcast. It will be Inception casting.
Inception casting. I don't know. I'm willing to let him have him host us because we've hosted him before, and he gave us free tickets to Clue.
Hey, man, I missed that.
I do too. I've been wanting to do another one with Montetre as well one of these days. Yeah.
Well, hopefully soon after this is done, we can start having guests and start being more regular. I have to say, one thing that's been kind of sad is not being able to go into the radio station and do my radio show.
And I never got to go.
Yeah. Well, soon enough, you definitely will. But it's it's kind of sad. I miss that kind of feeling of going up there and doing that. But we're still submitting mixes, and I'm still doing episodes and stuff because, you know, you got to keep up on that stuff. But I do miss it.
It's soon. What's the name of your show again?
Groove Cuts Radio on
Yeah.
freeformportland.org, playing late Friday night, which is technically early. Oh, no, my bad. I just got this wrong. Plays late Saturday night, which is technically first thing Sunday morning from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. Freeformportland.org. But you can go to groovecutsradio.com and listen to all my episodes right now. So
What he just talked about, that was Groove Cuts Radio. And what we are on talking right now, that's
rock and roll
Specialist. Thank you very much. What?
Let's do that over one more time. This is rock and roll
Specialist.
I'm Ben Eastman via Zoom in Beaverton, Oregon.
And I am Jeff Crenshaw, also via Zoom in Beaverton, Oregon.
Hey, we're in Beaverton.
Yeah.
See you guys later. Stay home and stay safe.
But we're like a mile apart, so this is distance.
It is. I can still sniff you from here, though.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.